I would like to mention too, I closed him at the bar over several beers. So I had to get
And he
him.
remembers that?
I had to get him.
Yeah.
I had to get him loosened up a little bit. But
Welcome to the Not Genius Podcast. My name is Jesse.
My name's Josh.
And today we got Clint and Tyler out of Atlanta. So Clint and Tyler, they run a wholesale company, buy and hold, flip, just all real estate investment company called Padley Buys. This is a new company that they rebranded to, and today they're going to talk about all different things regarding mindset, entrepreneurship. Clint was actually a millionaire before getting into real estate, so he's going to talk all about his experience getting into the business. And then Tyler, he just joined forces with Clint to make this entire thing happen behind the scenes, so we'll hear a lot about how they made it happen. So what's up, guys?
What's up? Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
I know, dude. It was like a long trip. Like, we started driving at like 9:30 last night from Delaware. I don't know. You guys ever been to Philly or around that area?
I have never been further north of West Virginia. I guess.
Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Same.
What about
Same.
Too?
West?
So I've been out west
Yeah,
a bunch,
yeah.
but I've never been to the Northeast really. So I've never been to like New York.
Boston?
Yeah. No.
Never. We go skiing in West Virginia and never gone further.
Oh, so you don't have to go further.
Yeah.
Are you guys from Georgia?
Yeah.
From here or?
Yeah, I was born in South Georgia, but I moved around a lot when I was younger. But since I was about, I guess it was 12 years old, lived in the metro Atlanta area.
Yeah, I'm from South Atlanta,
So,
city.
did you guys always just stay around this Sunbelt area and never really went west towards like California or Las Vegas until like business kind of took you guys there?
Pretty much, yeah. I'd never been. I guess I went out skiing in Colorado when I was a freshman in college, but other than skiing trips, I'd never really been out west at all until I got into real estate. Really.
Oh, that's crazy.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah, Josh never been
Yeah.
farther west than Colorado as well until like this year when we went to Future Flipper.
Flipper.
Yeah, and I got married in California. He went out there for the same thing. And Kenny, he never even flew on a plane until we went to California. He was like holding on to that. I was like, I got him when there's like exit seats so he can get extra leg room because he wouldn't know what he's doing out there. He's a big guy.
Yeah, my first time on a plane was my junior year of college when I flew out to Denver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever do a drive over 4 hours. So if it's further than 4 hours, I have to fly.
Yeah.
Same.
Like you guys are doing something driving down here from
Yeah.
Delaware.
Yeah, 'cause we got to bring all the equipment.
We got,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
no,
it's true.
eventually we're going to figure it out and then bring all the equipment via like plane or whatever. But
Well, the plan for us is like we're gonna get to $20 million in revenue. We're gonna buy a plane and
buy a plane.
and be flying wherever we want.
Yeah.
When we want.
Or you could do the podcast on the plane.
That would be
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. So many opportunities
That would
open when
be
you have a
so
plane.
sick. Like private jet plane.
Yeah.
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 Get the
Okay,
PJ.
so can you guys tell me like a little bit about your guys' origin story? Maybe starting with Clint and then Tyler.
Yeah. So, grew up Metro Atlanta. Went to college down at GCSU down in Milledgeville, small school. Most people have never heard of it. And after college, I went to work for my dad in logistics. Eventually thought I was going to be owner of the company one day, and that was like the plan. And then I had a side hustle in sports betting consulting. Basically, we were selling our picks, and it ended up taking off where, I was making about $100K a year working for my dad, and my side hustle was making me about $500,000 a year. So at that point, it made sense for me to move on from my dad's company, and that was a very difficult conversation to have. But I made that move, and I had a partner, and we ended up had a pretty good business running, making a good amount of money selling sports betting picks. And after that, me and my partner decided to I decided to leave the company. I wasn't super happy at the time, and with how things were going, and so I decided to leave. And me and my partner are still boys. The company is called Sports Analytics 24/7. They're big on social media. Great company. If you're looking for sports betting picks, I totally recommend them. But it just wasn't working out between us. We just had different lifestyles and things like that. I had a family. He was a single guy living in Atlanta, and so I decided to leave the company, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And I ended up selling my house. I lived on Lake Lanier here in Gainesville, and at the time, a year before this, I'd bought my house for $1 million. living on the lake, and I decided to sell it when I left the company and didn't know what I was going to do. And when I sold it for 1.25 million, and I did no work to the property, literally just natural appreciation. It went up 250K in value over a year's time. And that is what sparked my interest in real estate. And so after that, decided to join Future Flipper, Ryan Pineda's mastermind, started learning about real estate, did my first deal a few months later, made 62 grand on my first deal. And after that, I was off to the races. And a few months later, I hired Tyler. We partnered up. And now we, a year later, basically from when I hired Tyler, we have over 30 people working for us.
Oh, that's awesome. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so mine's a little less exciting. I worked in corporate America before this. I went to GCSU as well. Me and Clint were in the same fraternity in college. We weren't like tight, but we were acquaintances and had a lot of mutual friends. Yeah, I'm from South Atlanta, and went to GCSU. After GCSU, worked in corporate America, kind of climbed up the corporate America ladder. I was actually, I worked in like finance at law firm. I was like the collections guy, reports, and just really exciting job. But I'd always like hustled on the side. So like I had done a flip on the side. I had a rental that I was playing around with. And like, my dad had a construction company growing up. I like flipped house, like we did renovations, and I've always been kind of involved in real estate and always wanted to get into it. But we lived in Atlanta and we had a kid and we moved up here to Buford. And of course I reached out. I had Clint, I had some other buddies that were around here. And I was like, hey, y'all come hang out at the new house. Let's like, we live here now, so let's just hang out. And I was talking. Clint was over. We were having a beer on the back porch, and I was saying I've got this duplex in Clayton County that I was trying to flip myself. And he's like, I do real estate. And he's like, you should come work with me. And I was like, absolutely not. Like I was finishing up my MBA. My company was paying for it. I had all this health insurance and gold handcuffs and all this kind of stuff. And Clint, the closer, eventually closed me. And the rest is really history. He taught me into coming and working for him, and it's the best decision I ever made. Having a lot of fun running the company, and I've learned a ton in the last year. And we're just getting started. So
yeah. And I would like to mention too, I closed him at the bar over several beers. So I had to get him.
He remembers that?
I had to get him.
Yeah.
I had to get him loosened up a little bit. But I'm super happy he made the decision because we work really well together. I think that's extremely important when having partnerships is, finding somebody who doesn't have the same skill set as you. Me, I'm like super subjective and, I'm good at sales and I like to, think big ideas and things like that. And Tyler's like, hold your horses. Like, let's look at the analytics behind this and let's dive into the data and let's get these processes down. And I'm like, this is a great partnership because he's good at all the things I'm not good at.
So how did you find out that Tyler had all those different skill sets that you didn't have? Did you always know that, or?
So I didn't. So we went to college together, and we were actually in the same fraternity in college, and I knew him and I knew his character. So that was the first thing I looked for is like, hey, I know this guy's a good guy, right? And, we aligned from a core value standpoint. The second thing was I was like, this guy knows how to work on houses. Like, he knows how to like actually go in and fix a house versus me. Like if, I try to go fix my sink and if I can't figure it out in 30 seconds, like I'm moving on and calling a plumber. Like if I just can't do it. I don't have the patience for, figuring stuff out like he does. And, I just knew I knew he had an MBA. So I knew he had, a lot of, essentially training on running businesses and finance and things like that, things I knew nothing about. And I just knew he was going to be good at implementing the ideas that I wanted to do. And the character, like I said, the core values lined up. I just knew he brought a different skill set to the table. I had no idea he was going to be as good as he is.
Wow.
But it worked out.
Yeah. What lessons did you learn from your previous business that kind of made your path like kind of clear in terms of the house? Because I talked to you over the phone. I don't know you actually remember that call because I think I just randomly texted you over Facebook and I was just like, hey Clint, like just gonna want to talk, pick your brain, whatever, because you had closed that like huge wholesale deal with the hedge funds and they had mentioned, I don't think they had mentioned it on like the Facebook group for Future Flipper.
Yeah.
And I was just reaching out just to reach out, and you were like going on your boat, and you're like, who is this kid? You know, I don't know if you remember that call.
Yeah.
I had talked to you before.
I got a lot of those calls when
Yeah.
when the news came out about that big $600,000 wholesale deal. I don't remember it specifically. No,
because I think we really built the relationship after we got into RAI degree with
Yep.
you and Tyler. But yeah, what did you learn from your previous business that kind of set that path? Because I learned from doing the wholesale business or building a business that they're pretty much all similar
Yeah.
in nature. You know, it's operations, marketing, sales.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah. I mean, I think I learned previously in my business was like, the companies that market the best, not necessarily the companies that are the best at what they do, but the companies that market themselves are the ones that end up winning the most. And I think that's something we were really good at. We were really good at marketing what we were doing. I think we had an excellent product too. I think we had the best picks on the market, but the reason we were so successful is because we were able to market ourselves so well. Versus other companies, they may have had just as good a product as us, but if they can't market as well as us, they're not going to get the sales we're getting. So I learned that, and that translated to real estate from a standpoint of direct to seller marketing. Like we had to learn how to market great, and we're still getting better at that today. But I think the marketing thing. I think also learning how to have, like, you can't be both doing the same things. Like you both, like from a partnership standpoint, you got to be focused on different sides of the business, especially when you're small. So like when Tyler came on board, for instance, I tasked him with direct to seller marketing. I was like, listen, I can go out and hustle and get deals from realtors and wholesalers, and I'll keep the lights on. We're going to make money doing that. But if you can figure out this direct to seller marketing, that's going to get us the deepest discounts on these deals. So, I tasked him with that. That was like literally the first thing that he was doing was like, hey, let's figure out text message marketing. Let's figure out that, because I had tried it, but I just didn't have the bandwidth to really focus on it when I was doing it by myself. I would buy a list, get a deal, and then I'd have to deal with a deal, and I wouldn't be following up with my leads like I should. So I really tasked him with that, and he's knocked it out of the park. And now he's got a marketing guy working under him, and I think not to get off topic, but I think the biggest thing I learned is just like you gotta market yourself really well in business to be good.
Yeah. And Tyler, like, what did you see in Clint that made you feel comfortable about taking that jump? Because it sounded like you come from a more traditional background, and typically people are more risk adverse, and a lot of people don't want to take that chance on somebody who's only been in the real estate business for I don't know how many months. Right, because it's a new business venture for him.
Yeah, no, it was a tough decision. I mean, I was teetering on the edge, right? Like I was so fed up with my job. It's like, I always knew that there was something like bigger and better out there for me. And it wasn't sitting in a cubicle working a 9-to-5 for a law firm. And it's just. You go to school and you get a few more letters after your name, and then 15 years later you get promoted to management and then senior management, and then if you're really lucky and you play all your cards right and the politics work out, you make it to the CFO position or something. And it's just kind of like a boring way to live life, and that was my mentality. I guess that's part of the entrepreneur in me, is that's just not a way that I wanted to live my life. I knew that Clint had a really successful business. I knew who Clint was. I knew he was successful in business, and I knew him from a character standpoint in college. And you get to know each other a lot in college. You know who the true person really is, especially at our school. But no, I just really trusted Clint because I knew that he had success before. And I knew, as we talked through everything, I knew that, that was the missing piece that I needed. I had tried to start side hustles in the past before, and it's like I get caught in the weeds, and I really, I try to do everything myself, and I learn and I try to do everything like that. And it's like somebody like that doesn't have the skill set of pedal to the metal, like, direct the company, grow, hire, like make those big decisions, like bring on a third partner that's just completely changed the trajectory of our company. I'm so in the weeds, and I don't have that person to compliment me to like take off. And that's why we work so well together, is because Clint is on a jet flying 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I'm making sure that all the pieces are putting together on the backside of it.
100%. And I want to say something, about Tyler too, with his decision to make that. I think that, that decision to join me is going to change the whole trajectory of his family's tree. From a sense of, I've heard Ed Milet talk about it, the one. Mm-hmm. The one person that in the family tree that changes the trajectory of the family, from a sense of financial success. And Tyler doesn't come from a lot of money. Tyler worked his ass off to get his MBA, go through school. He wasn't handed anything in life, and him making that decision, I feel so confident that he's going to be the one to change that family tree and really be able to provide a life for his kids and people after them, even that they didn't have before. And I think it's literally going to come down to that decision to join teams with me and really be able to utilize his skill set versus being in corporate America, like he says, in a cubicle. And I'm really thankful he made that decision because he's a beast. So
yeah, I really feel some type of way about that phrase, like the one. I love it because every single person who like joins maybe one of these wholesale companies or even my company, and like I got Josh, I got Caleb, I got Kenny, all these people who had different things, even my dad who had different things going on in their lives, and for them to decide I'm gonna stop doing what I've always done and to go follow this route, follow this leader who I have trust in. Like it's a crazy decision,
yeah,
right? But by making those decisions at those forks in the road, like you look back at it and it's like that one decision changed my entire life. Like we were driving down here and it's like, oh man, you can only imagine the conversations you have on like 12-hour car rides. Like Josh and I were talking, it's like, dude, if I had grown up anywhere outside of Delaware, because we were considering moving to Florida before we moved to Delaware. We're from like South New Jersey. And it's like, we moved to Florida, it would be totally different. I'd be a totally different person. And it's like, yeah, so moving to Delaware, if I had not moved to Delaware, I would not meet Kenny. And had I not gotten to, cleaning houses, I would have never gotten to real estate, at least maybe the next couple years. And it's just like one thing after another. You just look at the decisions that got you to where you are, and it's just like you're able to trace back how you became the one. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, and for me, like with what's happening with Tyler, and we're not by any means to like where he's changed his family tree yet, but we're on the path in my opinion. And for me, it's like, man, if I could do that with more people, like that's what's going to give me the most fulfillment out of life. It's not just making money and having cool things. Like that's cool and all, but I've been really thinking about my life's purpose of like what really matters, like what I really want to do in life, and it's really just help people and change people's life trajectory. Yeah. And so I'm really thankful that I can employ 30 people in my organization now, and I'm hoping to change all of their lives. So that's kind of what my purpose is now, is like, and can I do this with another company? Because I have all these big ideas. I want to do all these different companies and things like that. And Tyler's always like, pump the brakes. We need to do this first. But, I hope to be able to, have another COO of a company that, I can completely change their family's trajectory, things like that. So it's just like one thing that I've really, like over the past year, have really realized that it's just not about like the money and the things that come along with that. It's about like literally changing people's lives.
Oh, that's so freaking awesome.
So after that bar conversation, did you just immediately
had like 3 beers? We weren't.
So I tried to loosen him up. I wouldn't want him to make that big of a decision.
10 drinks in.
Because I would like if he did,
if
he did, and we were 10 drinks in, I would have to call him the next day and be like, once he sobered up, and be like, "Are you sure?" Like, because that would
the decision was made before we went to the bar. Let's just put it that way.
Did you just immediately put in your 2 weeks and then like?
Oh, that was a mess.
So how did you transition from the 9 to 5 into like being an entrepreneur?
So this was still like pretty full-fledged COVID. So we were all working from home. So my office was in Buckhead, and I went in probably like once or twice a week, and it was just an empty office. So I don't think I was able to put my notice in face to face. Maybe I did. And my boss was just absolutely shocked because they were paying for my MBA. Wow. And I negotiated to pay them. I think I wrote him a check for like $15,000 when I left to just like pay back for the MBA. And I had like an agreement in place with them to like, I have to work for X amount of years before my MBA becomes like paid for or whatever. And when I put my 2 weeks notice in, I had just gotten promoted to like some BS like management title. Like I had direct reports and stuff. And like I had just gotten promoted like 3 weeks before. And you know what it was? That was I had just had my second kid, and I was on paternity leave for like a week or something. I was with my wife in the hospital, and I came back from paternity leave, and I was like, I took a new job.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what Tyler didn't allude to is that I literally matched his pay that he was making, so he wasn't taking a pay cut.
I was not taking a pay cut.
So it wasn't like it was a risky situation because I didn't have a business that was really like viable yet, but I was offering to pay him the same thing he was making now, so that made the decision a lot easier.
Yeah, it was like I took a small base pay cut, but I was getting like a percentage of the deals or something. Like I've made 3 times as much money in the last. I made more money in the big wholesale deal closed. I made more money that month than I did in a year at my corporate job. So that it was not a pay cut. What the thing that was the issue was like I had 2 kids coming over here. Like the health insurance was a big question mark. Just corporate America benefits, which is just like looking back on it. It was a dumb way that they throw the handcuffs on you really. So yeah.
Yeah. And now he's on a path to ownership. Like we've got an operating agreement in place. Once we hit a certain revenue level, that he's going to get a percentage of the company. So, I mean, it's just, I wouldn't do that just for anyone. Like if Tyler sucked, I wouldn't have done that. But he's literally like, he's a beast. And, again, thankful to have you.
Oh, that's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of wholesale companies in Atlanta. You guys say that there was like 2,000 total wholesalers in the whole Atlanta metro. And it's just like, what makes you guys different than any of the other wholesalers? I know you guys have like a special method that you guys been teaching us to the REI degree. But so can you guys speak more of like what you guys were originally doing, how you guys developed, what you guys are currently doing, and then like what is that trajectory?
Yeah. So I think the difference between us and most of the wholesale companies is one, the talent level. I think we hire, extremely good talent that is not comparable in the market. Like when I've talking to other wholesalers, their sales team and just their pieces, like they're just not as good. And we take a lot of time and only hire the right people. The second thing is just our process of how, we're transparent with sellers. Most wholesalers, they're liars. And we did it too at one point, and we had to have, a hard look in the mirror about how we were doing things, because wholesaling is like, hey, you're not really buying the house. You're giving them an offer to buy the house, but you're not really buying the house. You're actually selling it to an end buyer. And what we were doing in the beginning was like, hey, our contractor's coming over when it was an actually buyer. We just weren't, telling the truth. It wasn't like necessarily we were lying about what was going on, but we just weren't telling the truth. So we had a hard look in the mirror about how we were doing it. And we just started being transparent with sellers. And, we had, that limiting belief that it was going to affect us and we weren't going to be able to sell deals, but it literally had the opposite effect. I think it's a better way to do business, and the sellers appreciate the transparency. So that's definitely a big difference for sure. And I think the reason why we're going to succeed in this market and in Atlanta compared to these other people is because we are very aggressive with hiring. We're going to continue to hire. I would say we're going to add 5 more acquisitions and a few more dispositions by the end of the year. And having that big of a team, we're just getting in front of more sellers. So I think that's why we're going to be more successful in Atlanta than anyone else. And our plan is to be the biggest. Right now, in Atlanta, from just an Atlanta perspective, like we're not too far behind right now. Now there is New Western and Keekly and some of the other big wholesale companies that are nationwide that are doing the most deals here. But from just an Atlanta market perspective, we are not behind very far right now.
Yeah. I mean, it really is like the talent level of who we hire. We don't cheap out when we hire people. We pay very aggressive commission structures. Our sales guys make a bunch of money. And they're really, really good at what they do. And they have complete ownership over the entire process, right? Like I'm not approving comps. Nobody, the acquisitions manager is not reviewing deals. Your deal is your deal. You buy it. And then if we sell it, we sell it. They have complete ownership of the process and really the transparency piece. And really, truly believing that getting in front of the right sellers that have to sell their home, that we are the best option in the state of Georgia to sell their property. We have the CEO of the company on a dialer during the day talking to buyers, qualifying buyers, and driving out to properties and busting his ass to sell these properties for the company. And it really takes that's the extent that we're going to sell these people's properties, because we truly care about them. We truly believe that we're helping these sellers out through tough times. They're all in different, every one of them's different, but at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're helping them out. We're not, trying to sling their house and make a bunch of money off of them or whatever. It's literally like, we want to help you out. You're going through a divorce. You're going through your mom just died, or whatever the situation is. We're going to be the best person to help you out with. And we're going to be completely transparent about the entire process all the way through.
Yep. And I think one thing that I didn't mention, or Tyler didn't mention, is our marketing budget. We spend 25% of revenue every month, the next month, on marketing. So say we make, $400,000 one month. The next month we're going to spend $100K on marketing, and that's going to supply our acquisitions team to be able to lock up more deals, because they're going to have a bunch of leads coming in, and most companies wouldn't be willing to do that. They may have a great month and just take some of that for themselves, where we're aggressive in taking that money and throwing it back into leads, so our acquisitions people can continue to get better and have more people to talk to.
Yeah, and really a pivotal, thinking back on it, a pivotal moment in the company's history, how brief that may be, we had a huge deal that closed. We had a really good marketing piece that was working really well for us, and we got a deal, and we sold it and we made a bunch of money, $600,000, and we could have gone to Europe and taken 2 months off and partied our asses off and just went off into the sunset, and then we'll work when we run out of money. That's not what we did. We put our heads down and we got to work. We took bonuses that were not substantial. And I mean, it was substantial. It was a lot of money, but it was not a huge piece of that pie. We took a bunch of money and reinvested it. We invested in marketing. We reinvested in building out infrastructure, building out teams, hiring right people. And it puts us in positions to make big decisions that Clint helps push the company in. We took that big win and turned it into what we have today.
Yeah.
And that was and playing our cards right with that was massive to what we are today.
Yeah, and that $600,000 wholesale, I technically didn't even pay myself on it, which is like, if you think about most people, if they made $600,000, they get a wire for $600,000, they're going to go out and pay themselves and make. All I did was pull out some money that I had initially invested in the company, but I never took a bonus from it. So it was like I took some owner's investment out, but majority of that money went to more marketing and hiring. And that's why that literally was just such a company changing moment, because we invested in growing a team and invested into marketing. It was a huge moment in the company. I don't think we would be at 30 people right now if we wouldn't have made that decision. Instead of, we could have gone out, like Tyler said, and partied and, lived the high life for a little bit, but that wasn't what I was. $600,000, that only lasts so long. I wanted to build something that's going to last a long time and, make a lot more than $600,000. So that was, like Tyler said, it was a huge moment in the company, and I'm glad we handled it the way we did.
Yeah. So what was the $600,000 deal?
So I will start this. And
only deal I've ever closed, by
Tyler
the way.
closes.
Tyler closes his deal.
Tyler
He needs to close more deals.
So let me tell you the story about this. So we get a call. And we're sending out fake checks, like these fake checks. It's a direct mail piece, and it's got like soft offers on it. Basically, we get a guy on the phone. It's in McDonough, Georgia, which is where Tyler's from, and he's got 9 houses, and he's basically looking at these fake checks that have soft offers on them, and he's like, he got 9 of them, and for 9 houses, and he was like, yeah, I'm good with this, guys. Can we do it? And so I'm like. So me just knowing I was our acquisitions manager at the time, closing all the deals. And I'm like, 9 houses. This is a lot of work to look into. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I'm like, Tyler, can you look into this? Tyler starts looking into it, starts talking with the seller. And we ended up having lunch just right up the street from here. And he shows up in a cowboy hat and a bolo tie, like super old school guy. He wanted to get face to face. And we had lunch with him and we were like, let's do this. So Tyler ends up agreeing to it. And there's tenants in place, so that was going to be a complicated thing. We got to sell them with tenants and it's rented out for about half of what market value is for rent. So this is a time when the market's super hot. This is March, 2022, and so Tyler locks them up. So we start doing all the inspections, get all the pictures, and we realize that the tenant has the right to extend their lease at the same price, which is like, it makes no sense why a landlord would ever
for
put
like
that in
2
place.
years.
So they could extend their lease at the same price for 2 years. I don't know why he had that in his lease. He's a very generous landlord. But so that was a big hiccup. And we basically had to get him to go sign from all the tenants saying that this part of the contract was null and void for us to be able to sell it. So I started getting on the phones and started pitching it at some of the hedge funds in the area. And we're under contract at 1.48 million. Sorry. 1.48 million. So I'm like, man, I think this is a great deal. Like, all these houses are pretty nice. Like, they're all fairly newer. Like, they look like good tract homes, like perfect for a hedge fund. So I start calling some of the hedge funds in the area. I'm pushing out at 1.9 million. So we would make about, I guess, $400,000 on the deal if we sell at 1.9 million. Like, this is a huge opportunity. And I'm still like not sold that this is that great of a deal. Like, I'm thinking, maybe, we might make 200,000. That would be great. Like, I'm still not sold. And so these hedge funds are like, yeah, we can do the 1.9 million. And then I start getting like, okay, these guys, like, I can get these guys in a bidding war. Ends up, so I start negotiating with them, and I get one of them all the way up to 2.1 million. So I went up $200,000 on what I'm basically blasted it out to all of our buyers at. And he's like, all right, good. And so we got the leases handled. The owner went to all the tenants and got the leases signed, and we closed it,
avoiding the ability to extend.
Yeah. And so we originally had, I think, 45 days due diligence and 60 days to close. We ended up closing it in 30 days, and we got a wire for $607,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. Like,
The seller was so happy. He was so happy to get it all done. Didn't have to mess with the tenants. He was like 70 years old, and he still got one house that we're going to buy from him eventually. And once he gets done building his truck in the backyard, then he'll buy the 10th one.
Yeah. So it was just wild when you get a wire for $607,000, just absolutely insane. And it was funny, like, that was the biggest wholesale that we closed ever by far. Next day we closed our second biggest one ever. It was like 89,000. So we had a solid week. It was a solid week. It was a $700,000 week. And I mean, again, if we could have done some things with that money and where we didn't reinvest with the company, but luckily we made the right decision, and that's why we are here, with over 30 people working for us, building a real legit business. Because at that time, we weren't really viable then. It was me, Tyler. We had a few more employees, but we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't have a huge team. Like, we would not be in this position without that deal.
Yeah. Were you guys running the same sales process with that seller, asking him for access, right? You asked for access in order for him to get this price, right? And then how did that due diligence phase go with, like, the hedge funds being able to, do they inspect each and every single property, or do they buy sight seeing?
They definitely inspect, and they went and saw them all in one day. We scheduled that with our project manager at the time. No, our sales process was completely different than it is now. We've changed our sales process probably like 10 times in the past year. And that, I think that's why we're gonna succeed, is because we continue to change things. We continue to get better in our processes and how we do things. But no, our sales process was completely different then. And, I think, again, that's why we're going to be dominant in this market, is because we continue to adjust and continue to get better.
So did you tell him that, like, hey, I'm going to find a buyer and it's probably going to be a hedge fund?
At the time, we didn't know. Honestly, it would have been a great rental portfolio for me to take down and keep. But we weren't really sure what we were going to do. We wanted to wholesale them. We did not tell them that we had a buyer. Back to what I was saying, we kind of had a hard look in the mirror about how we were doing things. We didn't lie to them by any means, but we just didn't paint the full truth. So I'm glad we've fixed that issue since. But no, we weren't completely transparent about what we were doing. But at the end of the day, he was
and we didn't list those houses.
Yeah, we didn't list those houses on MLS. But he was just happy with how it went down. We got his money. He got 1.48 million in 30 days. So yeah, he definitely wasn't. He was happy with how the transaction went for sure.
Yeah, he teared up at closing, said how happy he was and how his wife had just passed away, and we helped him out, and yeah, it was a great transaction all around.
100%.
So have you both of you guys always been like get a $600,000 check and then immediately invest it all back into the company and not take anything, or like how did that go? Like,
how do you develop that?
I mean, that's just a thing. Like, I mean, you don't get $600,000 checks very often. At least I don't. I hope one day I'm getting them very often.
Yeah, me too.
But right now, I mean, it was just one of those times where like I had a hard look in the mirror and I was like, I could, take this money, pay out commissions, and I could have, after all commissions were paid, I could have $500,000 for myself. I remember our lead manager at the time, he got the biggest check he ever got from that deal. Tyler got the biggest check he ever got from that deal. But I just looked at it like, hey, I'm in a financially stable place. Let me take this money and let me double down on this business. Like, we just made $600,000. Let me pour this back into the business and make it something so much bigger and so much more profitable. I think it's just, I don't know why I decided to do that. I think it was just because I was in a financially stable place. And maybe if I wasn't in a financially stable place, I wouldn't have made that decision. But I think if you're in a good place and you get an opportunity like that to double down, you should do it.
Clint goes with his gut a lot. And it's not, again, like this is the visionary CEO kind of guy. His gut's right like all the time. And if it's not, if it's not, I'll call him out on it. But he says something like, his gut is like, dude, we could take this and we could build this business out huge. And so then that decision's already made. It's not like thought out over a month. It's not like analyzed deeply or whatever. And then it's like, Tyler, how can we make this work? And then he suggests ideas, I implement them. And we've used it as a cheat code to where hopefully, a year later in May, we're getting 600, our revenue will be $600K a month. And that's just like a normal month for us.
Yeah. And I'm super subjective with decision making. I don't look into a lot of data. I don't, read into stuff too much. If it feels good to me, I'm going for it.
So how do you guys come up with the idea of getting that third partner, adding Ren to the business? Because I just showed up on the call one day. It's like, hey guys, we got a new partner. Like
the day that we hired. So there's been a big company decisions that have been made. I think the first one was when me and Clint, partnered up. The second one was the big wholesale and deciding to reinvest in the company. And then the third biggest decision that we've made in this short time was bringing Ren on as a partner. So Ren was we've another thing that Clint's always been hammered on is spending a lot of money on coaching and investing in developing your knowledge of the game, right? So we've went in all the masterminds, CG, Future Flipper, we've done Tiffany and Josh's program, and we've learned a ton from all of those things. Ren was actually our executive level coach that we found out about. He had just begun taking on clients, and we were like, I think his third or fourth client for his coaching client. And when we started having these hourly long calls, we were paying like $3,000. We were paying like $1,000 an hour to just have a call with him once a week. And the amount of value that he was able to provide, we were just like, this guy is incredibly high level. So we hopped on a call with him one day, and we were like, how was your weekend, man? How was your 4th of July weekend? He was like, not so great. And I'm not going to get into the details of what happened, but they separated their employment at his job that he was the CEO of and part owner of, and Clint immediately, without thinking of any of the repercussions of how much it would cost or anything, or a well thought out plan or anything, we're 7 minutes into this call, and Clint goes, "Come work for us," and Ren was like, draw up a plan. We'll see what happens. Who draws up the plan? I draw up the plan, and Clint closed him, and that was gigantic for the company. Clint made the decision, huge decision. I would have never even thought to have even asked about him joining, but Clint is able to pull the trigger within 30 seconds of learning the options there.
Yeah. And it kind of how it went was like we had that meeting with him. We found out he was leaving his old company, and he was doing at his old company. They were doing 100 to 125 wholesale deals per month, which is probably top. I mean, it's top 5 in the nation. So they're a top 5 in the nation wholesale company. So, and he was the CEO of it. Started out as COO, and he's CEO. And I had been on those coaching calls with him once a week. And like Tyler said, we were paying about $1,000 an hour. And I just saw how high level this guy was. Like, he was so dialed in to every piece of the whole wholesale business. When he told me that he was leaving the company and he was deciding what he wanted to do, and he actually said, hey, I want to go to the Atlanta market. The Atlanta market is like, we're in 9 markets, and the population in Atlanta is 3 times as big as the 9 markets combined. And the price point is so much higher. So your average profit per deal is going to be so much higher. He's like, I'm going to just start a company and do business in Atlanta. And I was like, well, that immediately sparked my attention. I was like, man, we got to find a way to get this guy. This is like LeBron James just became a free agent, and we have the opportunity to get him. So I was like, hey, Ren, we've got, some infrastructure here. We have some people in place already. We're here located in Atlanta. Like, why don't we just join forces? Let's work out a deal. And basically we started negotiating, and then we gave him an offer. He came back. I remember we had a long weekend, and like literally I could not sleep all weekend thinking about this. I was like, I remember texting Tyler late at night, like, we got to do whatever it takes to get this guy. Like, we have to. And so me and we got back on the call Monday after we gave him the offer, and he's like, guys, like, I just don't know. Like, I met with some of my mentors this weekend, and I'm just not sure if it's for me yet. I need some more time.
He was coming back with a hard no.
Yeah, he was basically coming back with a hard no, and I came into the meeting basically to address every concern and also up the offer quite a bit. Like, I was prepared to up it quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I come back with him, and every objection he brought to the table, I overcame it, and I offered him a lot more money. And I think it's going to be the best money I've ever spent, just along with hiring Tyler, because he is just that high level. It's literally like LeBron James came available in free agency, and we got the guy. Like, just a huge monumental moment for the company. And I just saw the opportunity, all right? Like, I just saw the opportunity that we could level up so quick with this guy. And now last month, he's been on board for 3 months. Last month, we closed the most deals we've ever closed in a month. And we have doubled our staff in 2 or 3 months. Maybe more than double, like close to 3 times our staff in 2 to 3 months. And we're headed just so much bigger. We're headed to where we're going to do over 100 wholesales a month in Atlanta. Like, it's 100% going to happen. He knows the path how to get there, and we're going to get there because we're all willing to put in the work. And especially with the way the market's turned in the past few months, like, you need all hands on board. Like Tyler said, I'm out there cold calling, like, with the team. Ren's doing acquisitions with the team. We are, all hands on deck, and that's why we're going to succeed in this market versus, there's maybe 2,000 wholesalers in Atlanta right now. In 6 months, I think there's going to be 200 because of what's happened in the market. People aren't going to adjust. People aren't going to be willing to put in the work because right now, to get good results, you have to be great. Before, you could be average and get great results. Like that 600K wholesale, there is 0% chance that would happen in this market right now. But we are willing to put in the work to be great just to get good results right now. And that's why we're going to survive. That's why we're going to continue to succeed. And that's why when the next bull market comes around and there's not, a tenth of the wholesalers around, we are going to dominate and we are going to rake it in.
Yeah. So going back to, Ren coming back with the objections, like, what were some of those objections that he came back with, and what did you do to like overcome them? Or, like, what did you say, and like, dude, is that something we can talk about or no?
Yeah, so we can talk about a little bit. I don't want to get like into fine details, but
That's fine.
Ren is very motivated by money. Okay. And I knew that, and so it had a lot to do with money, right? I think he believed in us. I think we aligned from a core value standpoint.
He had been our coach for 3-4 months, so he knew us pretty well.
Yeah, he knew us pretty well. We were hopping on an hour call with him once a week, and it was just one of those things where, I knew what he wanted, which was money. So I figured, let's offer the house to him. And he's going to be a partner in the company, during once we reach a certain revenue level, just like Tyler. Mm-hmm. And that was a great thing for Tyler, because that pushed that forward for sure. Like, Tyler would have been an owner of the company, have ownership in the company eventually for sure. But getting Ren pushed that ball forward a little bit faster. And I'm super thankful to go to work with those guys every day, because they're just both absolute savages at what they do.
And you guys are going to meet, y'all will meet Ren at CG this week, and you'll know instantly that you've met us, you get us, like, you understand us. He fits in like well, right? Like, he culturally, like, we go out on the lake, Clint, they go fishing. Like, when he comes up to Atlanta, he stays at our house, right? Like, with our kids. He's having breakfast with my kids in the morning. Like, he fits in. He's a great culture fit,
core value fit.
He's hilarious. And he's just a good dude.
Yeah. And it's just like, back to, being a leader of the company, and like from a CEO standpoint, I have to hire people that are better than me at things. And Ren, like I said, again, back to the LeBron James comparison. It's like, he came available in free agency, and we got the best player in the world to come join our team. And, he's better than me at this wholesale business. He knows it like the back of his hand. And I've got to continue to hire people and partner with people that are better than me at things. That's how I'm going to get to the next level.
And to add to that is, like, the calls that, because we had a call with him on Tuesday, and the thing that happened with his company happened over the weekend. And if we hadn't pulled the trigger as quickly as we did, which I would have never considered had Clint not been on the call, the people that came out, I'm not going to say who they are, but the people that came out wanting Ren to join their team weeks later down the road, once we had already signed the contract and sent the wire, thankfully, it's you would know who they are. Like, they're the big dogs. And one of the conversations I had with Ren was just like, I was like, why us? Like, he was like, you were the first one that asked. So it was just pulling the trigger that fast. I mean, the people that were coming out asking him to come join their team are like mammoths in the industry. Compared to us.
And if I, like, going back to Tyler said, like, those people that wanted him are some of the industry titans, literally. And the reason we knew before them about the news is because we were a coaching client of Ren's. And if I would not have sent him a wire, because we didn't have an agreement in place. An operating agreement takes a while. Lawyers got to draft it up and everything. Like, it was going to take a little bit of time. It wasn't going to get done immediately. But I wanted to show good faith, so I sent him a significant wire. And that is literally why he's being. Because if I wouldn't have sent him that wire, it would have just been a verbal agreement. And not saying Ren would go back on his words, but the people that were offering him were a lot better than us. A lot. Literally industry titans. And it just goes back to, when you have an opportunity in front of you, you have to make quick decisions. You have to act quick. Otherwise, that opportunity can go away so quick. So I am very thankful I sent him that wire. And because at that point, he came on and said, like, he told me, he was like, I probably wouldn't be here today if you didn't send that wire. Wow. And I was like, wow. And I literally just sent it like blind faith, no agreement in place, a significant amount of money. And I'm thankful I did that, because he's a guy of integrity. And he was like, I gave you my word. You sent me this wire. I'm not going to back out now. Like, these guys want me. And we ended up having some meetings with some other guys that were like, wanted to join forces with us. Like, got meetings that we got with.
They would have never even responded to our DM.
Like, yeah, I mean, they would never even consider us. But the fact that we had Ren and they wanted Ren, they were considering wanting to partner with us. You know, some of these guys that are, you know, huge guys in the industry. And, you know, it goes back to, like I said, the character fit, the core value fit. I acted on the opportunity quick. There's no chance he would be here with the people that reach out to him once the news broke that he was leaving his company, unless I sent him that wire. So it's like, you get an opportunity like that, you have to act super quick. Otherwise, you'll lose out on it, and that will be, you know, a monumental change. It'll be the biggest change in our company ever. Adding him to the team, because he knows how to get us to 100 deals a month. It may have taken us 6-7 years to figure that out on our own, and we may have never gotten there. But the fact that we got him, we're going to be there in a year's time.
Yeah. How did you guys develop that type of mindset to be able to look at creating such a ginormous pie with Ren versus, okay, you guys are able to swallow up a lot larger of a profit margin personally to support your guys' family, versus now you have a third party who is very valuable. And, you know, signing LeBron onto a team is not cheap. Signing a Steph onto a team is not cheap. And there's a risk that somebody gets injured. Like, you know, you see, what's it called? Russell Wilson versus Gino. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, everyone's wasting their money on Russell.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Sure.
I don't know. Where did you get that foresight to really see the trajectory that your company could go?
Yeah, I think it's just intuition. Again.
Hey, what did I say earlier? He went with his gut. Yeah, his gut's right.
I'm very subjective in making decisions, but I just knew the caliber of person he was, and you know, from a core value standpoint and an operational standpoint, like, the guy is dialed in. So I was, you know, if he asked me for even more money, I was pretty much willing to give this guy everything I had to make this happen, because I knew I really was. I mean, I really was. Like, he was that high level, and I knew, like, it was going to be such a good thing for our company if I could do it. And from you know, back to, you know, when I left my dad's logistics company to go work in a whole nother field, and, you know, I was going to get ownership of my dad's company one day. It goes back to taking risk. All of my biggest rewards have come from taking big risk, and when you have an opportunity that's as great as getting someone like Ren, you have to jump at it, and you have to, you know, move very quickly, because those opportunities don't last long.
And the analytics side of that, which is the part that I kind of worked out, Clint was like, we got to get him by any means necessary. You know, what we did is, to put it in perspective, it's like, you know, me and Clint took this business to where we had an acquisitions department. We were selling deals. We were a viable company before we brought Ren on, right? And we were consistently closing $100,000 a month. Like, we were doing, it was a well fine-tuned operation, right? Yeah. Now, if I were to go to someone who just slung their first deal, they closed their first wholesale, they made $15,000. If he offered me, hey, Tyler, I'm going to pay you $15,000, and you and Clint's partnership just broke up. I'm going to pay you $15,000 signing bonus. Come work for me. I want to get to where you guys were, because I know, Tyler, you're high level and you're going to help me get there. I could have that company if it was just me and another person. I know how to hire. I know how to market. I know how to do all this stuff. It's like kind of boring, honestly, right? Because I know how to do it. I've done it. I'm just doing the same stuff over. I could get that person to $100,000 a month wholesale revenue in less than 6 months, right? It's the same thing with Ren, is that Ren's company was closing, $1 million, $1.5 million a month or something like that.
So they had some $2 million months.
They had some $2 million months.
No, I think they were consistently closing over $2 million a month.
Yeah, their profit per deal was lower.
They were going to do about $25 million this year.
Right. Okay. So $25 million in wholesale fees, and like they were focusing on. You face different problems as a company when you go from $100,000 a month to $1 million a month, or $500,000 a month, or whatever. Yeah. And the different things that you start realizing you have to do is you can't, like me, Clint, and Ren, the executives of this company, we can't, like, hiring becomes an issue. If you got to hire 10 people a month, you got to interview 50. You got, you know what I mean? And then you have to have systems and processes in place that don't work if they're not fine tuned at $100,000 a month. They're going to break when they get to $1 million a month. Yeah. Like, it's just, shit is going to hit the fan. But bringing somebody in like Ren, he's like, dude, I can get y'all from $100,000 a month to $1 million a month. Like, in 6 months. Like, that's boring to me, right? What they were focusing on was getting from 25 million to 100 million. That's the problem. Like, once we get to the level where we're hitting million, 1.5 million, 2 million a month in wholesale fees, that's when it's going to be like, all right, now we got to rethink things. How are we going to get to the next level? Strategize. Right now we're in execution mode. Ren has the game plan. He's laid it out for us and he's helping us execute it. And he's like, guys, this is boring to me. Every time we go to him with a question, he's got the answer. And it's real every single time. And I'll wake up with, like, he's an hour behind us, and I'll wake up with like 50 text messages of like, this is broken, this is how we fix it. This is broken, this is how we fix it. This is broken, this is how we fix it. And the language is a lot better than that. But it's just like, he has the roadmap to get us to what to us is an astronomical number, right? $1 million a month. Holy shit, right? We thought we were going crazy when we closed a $600,000 wholesale. If we can consistently close $1 million a month, I don't know what I'd do with myself. And he's like, I can get you guys there. We knew that too, that we could get us there in our sleep. Now, would me and Clint have eventually gotten there? That's what I did on the back end, analyzing the whole thing. Was I was like, yeah, Clint, like, me and you, we can figure this out. We're going to hit so many bumps in the road. It's like a cheat code having Ren. How much of an advantage from a timeline perspective is having a cheat code like Ren going to give us?
Yep. And you know, back to what you said about the pie, it's like, yeah, I'm giving up a lot of my pie, but our pie is going to be so big now.
It's getting a lot bigger.
It's going to be so much bigger where, yeah, I may be giving up a big piece of the pie, but I'm going to be making more in the long run from this move. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys speak about like the RI degree? I know you guys started it about like 4 or 5 months ago. And it's like, that was totally different stage of where your guys' company was prior to Ren, and like what your guys' intention was with having REI degree, and what are you guys going to do in terms of coaching students in the future, or are you guys going to do that?
Yeah, so I've got big plans for that.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. And it's just right now it's just a time thing. I'm really focused on Padley and growing this out, but you know, back to what I said before, I just want to help people, and I can help people get to 100K a month pretty easily now. I know the path how to get there. And so back to what I was saying with helping people, I want to build out a huge coaching division. I want to change the courses of people's business and lives. And we're going to have a lot of offerings coming, and Ren is now going to be a partner in that as well. So we're going to be having a lot of offerings here soon for people to join. It's not ready yet. We are actually looking for a COO of the company, but there's going to be a lot of stuff with it soon. But I'm super thankful that Jesse, you joined our program. You've been one of the action takers and you know, someone who's implementing some of the ideas, because some students, you know, no matter what knowledge you give them, they're just not going to take what you tell them and not do it. So you know, it's up to the person to take action, and you've done a great job of that. But you know, some of our students have had some massive success. Yeah. I know Justin Bourne, specifically, like, he's closing his first wholesale deal, this month, and he's going to make like $80,000 on that. Like, he'd never done a wholesale deal, and it's because we gave him the information and he implemented it. So that's, you know, super rewarding for me is just seeing people succeed from me helping them. So there's big plans for it. We're just in the early stages of it, but it's going to be a huge company. I mean, I think we can be as big as Future Flipper, you know, Collective Genius. I think we can be as big as all those. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. You got anything else you want to ask Clint and Tyler?
I'd like to ask some questions. What about you guys? What's your plans? What's your plans for improvement? What's your plans like over the next year?
So with us, we're trying to shoot to do $2 million in revenue between August of this year and August of next year, because it took us about 6 months since we first started our partnership to figure out our infrastructure and figure out that Kenny cannot be a project manager. Absolutely, that's not happening anymore. And then it took us about, you know, the 6 months to bring all the people that we have on board. And if we do expand, we're going to probably add 2 more people in-house at most, because we're lacking a transaction coordinator, and we're probably lacking one other thing that, you know, it's a essential glue piece of the puzzle. You need to figure out what that role would be. Maybe it's a COO, or maybe it's CFO, like fractional CFO. So I'm trying to figure that out. But for the most part, we're kind of at a crossroads because people are introducing shiny objects to us, like new construction. But I'm like, the $100,000 spreads just sound really nice. Doing a lot less deals sound very nice. But to see what you guys are doing and being laser focused and narrow and try and be the best at that craft, like we're very good at flipping and we're very good at acquisition. We just need to get better at that. Like maybe we bring on a partner who does the new construction for us because there's people who are introducing those things to us. And it's like, what if we partner with them? We're not involved at all. What if we just, because I'm very good at raising capital, finding key relationships, meeting people, and I'm dialing a lot of my energy and effort into the media, as that's going to open up a lot more doors in order for us to, get at tables, get at rooms, just like this one, have high level conversations, build a relationship. And that's why I love like the mobile podcast concept. Like we're going to try to go to Texas within the next 5 months and then go to California and try to have conversations similar to this one, building in-person relationships, because I see people doing the podcast over the air. And do you feel like, the people maybe like, I don't want to call out like David Green or Rob Bill, but they just do everything over the podcast and it's like very transactional. It's like, oh, we were set up the schedule for you to talk to this person and then talk to this person. But like, is the relationship actually being built?
Sure.
So that's one of the big things that I saw and I really value in my entire life is the relationships and the value that we can add to other people. And like, we want to create content. We want to do this as a way to give value to people who want content for their own channels as well. And that we can kind of, manufacture some content in exchange for the conversation.
Sure.
Right. So that's like one of the big things where it's just like, this is not a monetary exchange as much as an exchange of value. So this was part of the business plan. And Kenny's back at home running the acquisitions department. Right now he's a runner, but we need to do a lot more things over the phone. That's what we learned by seeing your guys' operation. And I think by going to Collective Genius, if I can make more relationships, talk to more people, walk through some of their operations. Like, I really want to see Stephanie and Zach Better's operation, how they do it, because they literally doubled in a year. And they're in North Carolina, so it's like half the distance from us to here.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we can see more people like that and then bring, members of our team like Josh over or even Caleb, so we can do the podcast and add value in that way. And in exchange, we see their operations. We think we can get to even bigger than a $2 million a year company relatively soon. But yeah, that's kind of just a 1 year goal right now.
Yeah. So my advice on what you said is, if you guys are best at, acquisitions and flipping houses, I would say double down on that and don't do the new construction. Tyler knows we had some shiny object syndrome flipping some luxury houses back in the end of last year, and it was a terrible decision. It's been a huge time suck, a huge money suck, and we're going to end up losing money on the deals, significant amount of money. So my recommendation there is just keep doing what you're doing and get better at that versus getting the shiny object syndrome, trying something new, until you're super dialed in with what you're doing and get to a place where you want to be with it. So that's just my recommendation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Josh, what are some of your goals, man?
So I'm buying my first property, and I'm gonna rent out 6 bedrooms to total strangers. So right now I want to learn I already know how to buy a house, but the construction, because we have to do like nothing crazy, probably like $20,000 worth of work, but I have no experience with any of that. And then next would be like vetting tenants to be able to rent 6 bedrooms out.
Yeah.
And then once I build that out, I'm buying with a partner. I'd like to be Jesse's main buyer and buy a bunch of single family homes and rent them out by the room. So I'm getting coached by this guy, Sam Wiegert, who has like 600 tenants in like, I don't know how many houses. So my goal is 50 houses in 5 years. But right now I just want to like create a process for what I'm doing now. That way it's easier to scale.
We were having a crazy conversation on the way down. driving last night through the night. I was just like, dude, what if we just find these houses? You build the entire system in order to like chop up the houses and, you know, rent to these room by room tenants. That's like massive cash flow. We keep the houses, do the depreciation. You know, we take more of these houses in to the company, keep them. I raise the money. You do all the work. You know, you hire the people, and then it's just like, oh, we have a whole separate arm of the company. That'd be nuts. And then that way, you know, Josh could work with us forever. We could literally work together forever. And it's like, you just start off as acquisition now. Maybe you just teach somebody else to do it underneath you later. And then, you know, you can step away from acquisitions, or you can still do it, you know, because you want to find the specific house that fits your archetype. So I was like, man, there's some great ideas just driving in the middle of the night. But yeah, you guys have any last takeaways that you guys want to offer the audience, or last thoughts?
I mean, I think the big takeaway from this podcast should be that, you know, when you see a great opportunity in front of your hands, act quick and act fast, because that's, you know, been the game changing thing for us. So that's really my last thoughts. Tyler, you got anything?
Yeah, that, and on top of that is just you know, hiring the right people and building the best team, and overpaying for it if you have to.
Yeah,
100%.
Thank you guys so much for your hospitality. You know,
Yeah,
your
thank
southern
you.
hospitality, inviting us into the basement. I'm really sorry if you guys are hearing a lot of bumps from upstairs. They're literally in a basement, or you hear the sales team in the background. I hope that, you know.
And the train in the beginning too.
Yeah. Hey,
I
we
know, it's a
had-
vibe.
I mean, we have humble beginnings, right? Like, we've been in this office for about a year now, and we have a new office that we're doing like close to a $200,000 renovation to. And we're going to have an awesome office here soon, but this is where we started, and this is kind of, you know, where we built it. So I don't think it's bad to have humble beginnings, but I wish we had the nice office for you. We'll have to do the nice office tour next time. So
We'll do a part 2 to this podcast.
Part
but,
2.
Man, it was just amazing walking in, seeing the energy and seeing the hustle. And it's just like,
Wolf of Wall Street vibes.
oh my gosh, yeah. So
Except where they're honest though.
thank you. Appreciate that.
No, I love it. So if you guys, you know, if people want to reach out, get in contact with you guys, inquire more about REI degree, or maybe even work for your guys' company, how could they get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Clint Closer, on TikTok at Clint Closer, on Facebook at Clint Cooper. Yeah, those are the main channels that I'm on. I've actually got a lot of content I'm building out right now. I have some technical issues this weekend filming some content, but there'll be a lot of content posted soon, and I hope I can add a lot of value to you guys. But if you ever have questions, please reach out on social media.
I don't have a ton of social media presence, but my Instagram is Flip with Tyler. You can DM me there.
That's why he's the COO.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right, cool.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.